The plan that survived first contact. 6 weeks into delivery, the project is already 2 weeks behind. The team knows it. The project manager knows it. The plan shows amber, not red, amber. Because updating it to reflect reality would mean sitting down with the sponsor and having a conversation that nobody on the team is ready to have. So the plan stays amber, and the gap keeps growing. Here is the problem. Most plans are built to get approval, not to guide delivery. Once the gate is passed, the plan becomes a baseline that nobody actively manages. The project moves, the plan stays still. And week by week, the gap between what the plan says and what is actually happening gets wider. The pattern is consistent. On a large ERP migration, the baseline plan was never updated after the first scope change. The team reported progress against a project that no longer existed. On a financial services transformation, Stage 1 was planned in detail, and Stage 2 was an afterthought. When the handover came, the team was planning from scratch while delivery pressure was already building. On a public sector facilities program, 3 contractor plans ran in parallel and were never consolidated. Each looked fine. Together, they were 3 weeks from a collision that nobody had seen coming. In every case, the root cause is the same. Planning was treated as something you do at the start of a project to satisfy a governance requirement, not as a discipline you maintain throughout delivery to stay in control of it. That distinction is exactly what the PRINCE Plans practice is built around. A plan is not a document you produce, it is a tool you use. 3 things make this pattern so persistent. First, plans are written for governance audiences, not for the people doing the work. Once the gate is passed, the plan has done its job. Second, replanning feels like failure. Nobody wants to be the person who raises an exception, so the gap is absorbed quietly until it cannot be. Third, planning stops at project level. The stage plans and team plans that actually drive delivery decisions are never produced. So what does the plans practice actually mean in practice? Not the exam answer, the working reality. It means that planning is not a one-time output. It is a connected hierarchy of decisions that runs from the project plan at the top, through the stage plan in the middle, down to the team plan at the level where the work actually happens. A plan that nobody updates is not a management tool. It is a historical record. Real planning means the plan is actively used to decide what happens next, to identify when tolerances are being breached, and to recognize when the current approach is no longer viable. The moment a plan stops informing decisions, it has crossed the line from management tool to reporting artifact. A plan that works in practice needs to do 3 things. It needs to reflect reality at every level, project, stage, and team, with each level consistent with the others. It needs to show tolerance bands, so the project manager knows exactly when to act alone and when to escalate. And it needs to drive stage boundaries, showing not just when stages end, but what decision needs to be made at each one. The most common mistake is this. The plan is set at initiation. Progress is measured against it every week, and nobody ever asks whether the plan itself still represents a viable route to the end goal. The reporting continues. The plan stays fixed, and the distance between the two becomes the project's real risk register, invisible, unmanaged, and growing. It breaks down in 3 ways. The project plan and the stage plan become disconnected. One shows green, the other tells a different story, and nobody has reconciled them. Replanning is avoided because it feels like failure, so problems are absorbed quietly until they become unmanageable. And team plans are never produced, work packages go out without a supporting plan, and teams make local decisions that create conflicts nobody mapped in advance. On the ERP migration, the team introduced a formal stage plan review at every project board checkpoint. Not a progress report, a live plan review. The board could see not just where the project was, but whether the path ahead still made sense. The quality of their decisions changed immediately, because for the first time they were looking at a plan that reflected reality. The 3 levels of planning serve 3 different purposes. The project plan gives direction. It shows the shape of the whole delivery and the major decision points along the way. The stage plan gives control. It is the tool the project manager uses to manage the current window of work. The team plan gives visibility. It shows what each team is doing and how their work connects to the stage above. Each level depends on the others. 3 steps that make planning work in practice. First, produce a stage plan at the start of every stage, detailed enough to manage, not just to report. Second, define tolerance bands for time, cost, and scope at every stage, so the project manager has a clear framework for independent action and a defined escalation trigger. Third, treat replanning as a formal management decision. When the plan needs to change it, document why, and move forward with a plan that reflects reality. On the facilities program, 3 separate contractor plans had been running in parallel for 6 months. Nobody had consolidated them. Each contractor reported their own plan as healthy. When the dependencies finally collided, the program was 4 weeks from a hard public deadline. There was no integrated recovery path in any of the 3 plans. The cost of integration at that point was 10 times what it would have been at the start. Getting planning wrong creates 3 costs that compound over time. Invisible risk. When the plan stops reflecting reality, the risks sitting in the gap between them are unmanaged and unseen. They surface as crises. False confidence. A board making decisions based on an amber status that should be read is operating without the information it needs. And compressed recovery time. Every week the gap is hidden. The window to respond gets narrower. The silence is not neutral. It is accumulating cost. Here is the reframe. A plan is not a record of your intentions at the start of the project. It is the tool you use to decide what happens next. When it stops being that, when it becomes a reporting artifact rather than a decision tool, the project is already in trouble, even if the status report still shows amber. The rule is this: plan to manage, not to report. Every level of the planning hierarchy exists to support a specific management decision. The project plan supports the business case review. The stage plan supports the project board's control decisions. The team plan supports the project manager's day-to-day oversight. When any of those plans is built for reporting rather than managing, the decisions it should support get made without it, and the project operates blind. 3 things you can do this week. First, check whether your current stage plan still reflects what is actually happening. And if there is a gap, name it before the next board meeting rather than after. Second, identify the last point where plan and reality diverged and name the conversation that was avoided when it happened. That conversation is still waiting. Third, propose a stage plan review at the next checkpoint and frame it as a decision tool, not a reporting exercise. If your current project plan has not been updated since initiation, this is the week to change that. You do not need a full replanning exercise to start. Open the stage plan, compare it to where the project actually is, and name the gap. That is the first management decision the plan should be supporting. 3 ways to go further. First, has a plan on your project ever continued looking healthy while the reality underneath it was falling apart? Leave a comment. Your experience is what helps other project managers catch the gap earlier. Second, the Mimir PRINCE2 practitioner course shows you how to build a planning hierarchy that drives real delivery decisions, not just governance compliance. Third, this week, open your stage plan and check the last date it was updated. If it has not changed since initiation, that is the gap to close first. Share your experience.